Hey, Diana, you know you're losing your clients to confusion, not your competitors.
Mark, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Ladies and gentlemen, jurists and just curious, welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast. Here you'll learn about marketing, management, and life skills for lawyers that probably won't get you disbarred. Hosted by Marc Whitehead, a seasoned lawyer who remembers when fax machines were cutting edge, and Diana Berry, attorney, COO, and the brains behind the scenes. Together, they are the legal world's most dynamic duo since statutes met regulations. So if you're looking to build a practice, not a prison, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Successful Barrister, where legal legends are made.
And welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast, a podcast for lawyers and law firm leaders about marketing, management, and life skills that probably won't get you disbarred. I am your host, Marc Whitehead, alongside my co-host, my number one, my COO, Diana Berry. Hey, Diana, how are we doing?
I'm great on a Monday. How are you doing?
On a Monday. So we have just returned from the Fireproof Conference in Austin. And so a little bit worn out of that. So I actually drove to that. Austin's one of those weird ones where it's like it's too close to fly, but it is a bit of a drive. And
it's an easy drive.
Dallas
is far.
Anything that requires me to make 2 bathroom stops is a long drive for me. And at my age, it was probably more like 10. But anyway.
Well, you know, it was an easy drive, and I enjoyed the conference. What do you think about it?
I thought it was very lovely, and
they did a good job.
They did a good job, and they entertained us well.
They did.
Got to see my daughter.
Who, that was fun.
Came over from, she's a junior at UT there in Austin, so she got to come over and get a free. I noticed that technically we were supposed to buy her a $300 guest ticket.
Oh.
To come to the event, and we didn't do that. We scammed off of Fireproof.
Oh, well, I hope they don't listen to
solely scammed a meal off of them. Like she ate $300 worth of barbecue. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, she didn't. But it was a lovely evening. I forget the name of the artist up there at.
Her name was Callie. I remember her first name was Callie.
And I do not
remember California.
The venue.
It was the HEP Pavilion.
Well, it was really nice.
It was nice. Whatever it was.
Did a good job. But I'm really excited about today's podcast, Mark, because I get to just sit here and do what you normally do and just riff. Because today we're talking about
marketing,
which is like your passion and my not so much passion.
You're going to learn it.
I know it enough to, be dangerous, I guess is what
you just don't seem to care. I don't understand why you don't care about marketing, but
I actually do a lot, and I think that the more that I learn about it from some of the industry greats like Cassidy Lewis, the more interested I get.
Cheap plug.
Okay.
So Cassidy Lewis puts out a virtual CMO training academy course. It's a virtual course you can buy. You know what I did yesterday?
What did you do, Mark?
As I was messing around on a Sunday afternoon, I bought Cassidy's course.
Oh, nice.
And I got a discount, so I didn't have to pay the full price.
Wow. Because you know Cassidy, is that why?
I found a backdoor way in. So.
Have you listened to any of it?
I listened to the first 3 minutes of it, yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, I got 3 minutes in, so... But anyway, cheap plug for Cassidy Lewis. It is the CMOacademy.com, I believe. Or if you just Google CMO Academy Cassidy Lewis, it'll come up.
Yeah, but she's a great one. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that she's taught me in our outline today, Mark. But we are today finishing up our great courses.
Critical Business Skills for Success from the Great Courses. And this is the last of the 5 modules within the Critical Business Skills for Success. So just as a recap, I'm testing your memory here.
Oh, please don't do that.
First one was strategy.
Okay.
Second one was operations. Yeah,
I knew there was an operations one. I think there was something before operations.
Okay, well, then the third one was
organizational behavior.
And the fourth one was
I don't know anymore.
Finances and accounting.
Finance, and then now we're doing
the last one, which is marketing.
Which is exciting because that's your passion.
I know. So here's some of the theses that have come out of Critical Business Skills for Success, and I'm trying to relate them to law, but I do think they're kind of universal principles. I took how many semesters? I took 4 semesters of marketing in college. I was a business major, so you had to take these things.
Yeah.
So, but one of the premises was most law firm owners think marketing is the problem. They think we need more leads. They think your ads are not working. They think you need better SEO. Your SEO company sucks. I'm kind of in that vein right now, but I'll get over it real fast. But here's what actually is happening. The leads come in, but you don't convert them. It's an intake problem. Good cases call you, but they don't hire you for whatever reason. You know, referrals happen. People are referring this business, but somehow the referrals are not sticking. So the real issue is you don't understand how your client makes a decision. And I think that's kind of the premise of this whole section from Critical Business Skills, is that marketing is not about us. Marketing is about the client and how the client perceives everything that we do, every step of the journey in our journey in trying to get the client to hire us. It's not what we think about it. It's what they think about it. It's what they perceive. And I think that's sort of the whole premise of this core teaching unit on 5 critical business skills. And if you think about it, so let's say I run a TV commercial, and I think I say these things. But the reason I think I say these things is because I'm an insider and I know it cold. And sometimes it's the curse of knowledge. It's like, I know all these things. But maybe the client is not perceiving what I'm saying the same way that I think I'm saying it. You know, maybe they're hearing a different message because they're not trained in what I do. So I think this is sort of the premise behind it. It's kind of why I was actually thinking about hiring the person that we met at Fireproof. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they do client surveys. And they do client surveys on how people perceive you, how they perceive what you do, how they perceive your marketing messages. You know, they'll
more on this on our next podcast.
I know. So anyway, I've actually set up a call with these people.
Great.
So I have a call set up and I'm going to get their sales pitch. I'm sure they charge a pretty penny for whatever it is they do. But the whole point behind it is it's not what we think about it. It's what they think about it. What does your client think? Sort of the "Hey Diana" we threw out there is part of it, which is, you know, confusion causes inaction. If your message is muddled and your message is confusing to the client, you know, what is their first reaction to that? They're just not going to do anything. Mm-hmm. Or they're not going to do anything with you. They're going to move on to the next person, or they may just choose not to hire an attorney at all. So all of that kind of goes through this whole concept of marketing is really about how the client perceives everything you do, how they perceive every step along the journey with you.
Yep. And in addition to their perception of you and their journey, it's a lot, Great Courses says it's a lot about what they want and what they need. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about is something that Cassidy Lewis talked about at the last PILMA Summit, and that it's really just about psychology. And that's the stuff that excites me about understanding where our clients are coming from. And so today we're going to talk a little bit more about well, Marc, this is your outline. What are we talking about today?
Well, so we're going to go, you know, about the core principles, you know, the substance of it, basically how the client perceives your offering, how the client perceives value, how they measure value, what their expectations are, and how they make choices. You know, marketing is all about causing people to choose you versus choosing another firm versus choosing to hire no one. And remember, your biggest competitor out there is D, none of the above. They just choose to hire no one. And I think sometimes lawyers don't think about that. It's one of the reasons I love what, you know, we have termed here as educational-based marketing. You know, we educate clients on what we do. We give away free information. We give away the secret sauce. And why do we do that? Because what happens is the client realizes that the problem is complicated and it's probably not something they should attempt to do on their own. Therefore, they should hire somebody, which is the first step. They need to be convinced that they should hire somebody. And if you're the person who educates them on the process, they're most likely to hire you. So just never, always, this was one of the wisest things an old cuss lawyer who drank too much told me when I was young. He goes, your biggest competition is your client, not hiring anybody. So that's kind of the thesis here. All right, so when we get back, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of marketing and how clients make their decision.
This podcast is sponsored by Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability benefits law firm. Marc Whitehead runs a firm of over 60 dedicated people whose mission is to make a difference in the lives of our injured and disabled clients. Marc represents disabled claimants in Social Security disability, private disability insurance, and veterans disability claims in all 50 states. Marc Whitehead is double board certified in both Social Security disability law and personal injury trial law. Marc has litigated disability cases in over 40 states and counting and can help your clients too. Stop throwing your phone calls away. Call Marc Whitehead at 701-VIP-LEAD. That's 701-VIP-LEAD. Or visit our website at disabilitydenials.com. Referral fees are paid in all jurisdictions where it is permitted. Refer us your disability cases today and know that your clients will be in good hands.
All right, Diana, we're back. So like we said, like we teased in the opening, so marketing is about customer decision-making. Marketing starts in the client's head. It's not in your ad budget. So when we talk about marketing, it equals how customers understand us. It's how they understand our perceived value. It's how they understand and evaluate their options, because they always have options, plenty of options, A, B, C, or D. And how they make choices when presented with those options. Do we choose A, B, C, or do we choose D, none of the above? So, marketing is really not about promotion. It's about psychology. As a matter of fact, most marketing majors have to take a lot of psychology courses. I know. I used to date several,
At one time, Marc?
Yeah, and they had to make their choices. And apparently they didn't choose me either, but, hey, that happens. My excuse was back then my prefrontal cortex had not fully formed. So how I was back then is not how I turned out as an adult. So to all my ex-girlfriends out there in college, I apologize.
Oh, well, that's nice that you own that, Marc.
So it was brain damage.
How do we relate this to legal marketing, Marc?
Okay. So a few examples that I came up with. Let's say, all right, I'm going to use us, and I try not to use us too much as examples because I know we do disability law. And most people don't know much about disability law. And if they do know it, they probably think it's boring, but it's okay. So when we have an SSD client come in, we've thought about this, is what is their attitude? What's going on in their head? And a lot of times I think the emotion that we get is they feel overwhelmed. They're scared. They know they have a deadline, a very short deadline. I think it's, their deadline is 60 days, generally speaking. Generally speaking, they've blown through a lot of that deadline by the time they get to us. Whereas our disability insurance clients tend to be, more educated. They tend to be more analytical. They tend to be more skeptical, a little bit more risk aware. They want to know more about you. They're not as trusting. This is where education-based marketing really comes in. The way you get over that, that skepticism is you educate them. You got to educate them. The VA clients are a little different. They just distrust the system, which means since you're part of the system, they tend to distrust you as well. And so, given the long cycle time, you have to really work to build trust within these people. Veterans tend to be very much about honor and integrity. And the corollary to that is they tend to not trust the system. So you really have to work on building trust with that group of people. And if you don't understand this about your clients, when it comes to marketing, you're just sort of guessing. So you kind of need to understand the frame of mind that customers come to you, that clients come to you with. That's the first thing. I think the second thing is understand that not all types of clients are the same. They don't come to you with the same thing. So if you're talking to everyone, frequently you're not talking to anyone. So market segmentation is very, very important. So for example, our TV campaign that we are currently running, I have run TV campaigns where we tried to market to all three disability types, the VA, the LTD, and the Social Security disability. And it, quite frankly, was a failure because we were talking to too many different people in the same little 30-second message. So we have segmented, and our TV campaign is only running for Social Security disability. We've made that choice. We have foregone the other two practice areas in our television campaign and focused strictly on that one message because we can get that one message across quickly, clearly, concisely in a 15-second or a 30-second commercial. Whereas our disability insurance clients, we know that most of those claims are going to come to us through the Google Guide. So we optimize our website for those types of clients because we're really focusing on that clientele through that marketing channel. But the point is that you have different client segments, and each segment has different needs. They have different behaviors. They have different decision drivers, different inflection points that cause them to want to do something, that cause them to act. So you have to think about those things when you're putting together your marketing message. Don't be all things to everyone. Segment your markets and have the right message and the right channel, the right marketing channel for that particular segment that you're shooting for.
Yep. And so I think the Great Courses talks a lot about how segments should be based on what people value, not on demographics. And so we've seen this kind of, I think, in the PI space where, it's not just car wrecks now. You have rideshare lawyers or law firms focusing on the rideshare area versus the 18-wheeler big type of law firms. And so they segment, I think, themselves based on the types of cases that they would like to attract rather than just, I'm a PI attorney and I will handle every one of your cases if you need anything at all.
And I know some that segment on the type of injury, like brain and spinal injury. Some people segment in on that. Some people segment in on sexual assault type cases. So there's lots of ways to segment your offerings. You can segment it by practice type. You can segment it by demographic, such as I'm going after the Hispanic market. You can segment it by even socioeconomic status. On our LTD side, we tend to go for a higher socioeconomic status when we do our marketing there.
Well, even on the estate planning side, I think that you've got two different types of clients there. You've either got the young couple that are just with the new kid that they're just trying to cover their bases versus maybe a blended family where you've got different interests at that point. And I think that Great Courses makes a good point that, segmentation is not a one-time prospect because markets are fluid, but also, you have to just understand, I think Craig always makes the point that, when you do this analysis, this is a Cassidy Lewis moment for me. You have to go back and always look at your top 60 cases or go back and look at what you really think is what cases are really bringing in your revenue for your firm, because you might be surprised. I think Craig mentioned that it wasn't slip and fall, because I don't know if that's
well,
true.
Well, he said it was premises liability.
Okay. He was one of those. He was like, oh, those actually I do really well in those. And
that was before
shock.
Florida just screwed it up. That tort reform
that's an older story.
Welcome to Texas, Florida. We've been living with this for decades. So.
Yeah, but that was an older story. So make sure you're going back and looking at your cases and that they're actually what you think does well in your firm is actually what does well in your firm. So
the other side of the coin on segmentation is targeting. So the first side is to segment, separate things out, and then target. And target means really choosing who you're choosing to go after. And quite frankly, it also means who are you choosing not to go after, because we all have limited resources and the public has limited attention span. So you want to pick and choose your battles, and that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about targeting. You don't win by being available, you win by being relevant. So you want to be relevant to specific groups of people that you are intentionally choosing, that you are intentionally targeting. So you may choose not to play in certain fields. We chose not to play in the single event personal injury field. We decided to target specifically disability claims And we made a choice that therefore we would forgo this other type of business opportunity, quite frankly. It is because we wanted to become known for something. We wanted to become known as the disability specialists. So it's kind of hard to be a jack of all trades and still market yourself as a specialist. And that's a whole nother lecture on picking and choosing what market you want to play in. I think we should have looked this up because I know we've done at least 3 podcasts on this specific topic of how to make yourself a specialist. But anyway.
Well, I do think, and also being very realistic about what you are choosing to specialize in, because as you said, Mark, I think was it the TBIs that you brought up earlier? Yeah, everybody likes the TBIs, unfortunately, because they tend to be higher valued cases.
Traumatic brain injuries, for those you are slow today.
I apologize.
And it took me, you had to say it twice before I clued in because
yeah, but so on the traumatic brain injury cases that I thought you mentioned earlier.
Well, I didn't use TBI. I just said brain injury.
Okay, sorry, you're right. You did use brain injury. And so we'll eventually get this podcasting thing down, Mark. So, but on the brain injury cases.
We are coming up on our 100th episode here very rapidly.
Yeah.
So, you would think by then we'd get something right.
Hopefully our listeners are a little understanding them. But what you're also saying is that because it is such a, frankly, it's an expensive case to try and to keep in-house. You've got a lot of medical experts. It's not going to be one of those quick cases that, that you can do with a car wreck case. And so by also making sure you have the financing in place to handle that type of
neuropsychs
case.
Are very expensive.
Yep.
Neuropsychologists
and everything.
You got all of these people that you have to put on retainer to handle one of those cases.
The longer case timeline is just something that you are saying yes to when you say that that's the type of case you would like to attract.
So when you're saying yes to that case, maybe you're saying no to the soft tissue car wreck case. So,
Exactly.
So targeting really affects 3 decisions. It affects your marketing message. Obviously, we talked about that, when I gave the example of the SSD commercials we're running. It affects your intake process. What is your intake process? If you're doing medical malpractice work, you better have a nurse paralegal at a minimum on the other end of that phone answering that and screening those cases versus, in our situation as SSD screen, that's a different type of personality to do that type of screen. That's somebody that's got to be able to work at pace, at volume, to take a lot of phone calls. So it really affects how you develop your intake process. And you just mentioned the case economics. Are you willing to spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars developing a brain injury case or a medical malpractice case? Or are you going to do more of a volume type practice, where your cost per case in any one case is fairly low. You spread your risk out. These are all legitimate business models, but just which one are you choosing to play in?
And then make sure, obviously, your marketing reflects
and make sure your marketing reflects that decision. So the fourth one here, the fourth issue is positioning, and positioning is what they believe about you, not what you were saying. In other words, it's not about you, it's about them. What do they believe about you? And they believe things about you coming from a lot of sources. Some of it is from your marketing. Some of it is from how you answer your phone. Some of it is how you treat people when they come in to the office, or how you treat people throughout the course of the representation. All of that has to deal with positioning. Are you a white glove service? Or are you more of a Domino's pizza cutter types? Not pizza cutter, Domino's pizza tracker type service. How are you positioning yourself? But then it's how are they perceiving that? Your brand isn't what you say, it's what they remember about you. Which is why when you do brand yourself, short and sweet is better.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Everybody knows who the Texas Hammer is. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows. Everybody knows what the Texas Hammer does. Okay? He has beaten that into us for literally over 35 years. Probably closer to 40. I've only been practicing for 33, and he was number 1 33 years ago. So, very short and sweet. What are you known for? Okay? So your positioning equals how your offering is perceived relative to alternatives. What are the alternatives? Again, the Texas Hammer is one alternative. Well, there's Texas Law Dog out there too, okay? And what are some other ones? You watch TV. Come on, help me out here.
Oh, I don't actually watch the TV. I just know them by the billboards.
Okay, the billboards.
And so what was it?
Who's the guy in the avocado?
Oh, there's the avocado.
There's the avocado lawyer.
And then, of course, the ones that have been in Houston news about the...
Oh, Dick.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
Push and Win. Thank you, Jennifer. It's Push and Win because of all their drama.
No, I was thinking about, you talked about billboards. Okay, we know the billboards by
I just was
Dick.
really set.
His name is Dick, and he takes advantage of his name in just all sorts of
I am surprised that the Texas
obscene
bar
ways.
allowed that one to happen because that one is... I mean, it's uncomfortable.
I would love to be on the ad review committee that approved that ad. I would really like to know what's going on.
I'm very uncomfortable by that.
Yeah, anyway, just go Google it. If you really want to get gross, just go Google it.
Well, I mean, and it's not, anyway, he uses his name. But
How did
hey,
we
we're
get on
talking
this?
about him.
Yeah,
we are talking about him. So I guess any marketing is good marketing. I don't know, but.
All right, so we're talking about comparison. You know, the comparisons are you versus another lawyer, you versus doing nothing, you versus them trying to do it themselves, the DIYers. Mm-hmm. So, you know, those are your biggest competitors. They are either going to do it themselves or they're not going to do anything, or possibly they go to your competitors. But remember, you're always against something. You're either A, B, C, or D, you know.
Yeah. And so the great course said that, you know, great products fail because marketers themselves fail to communicate the true value of their offering. And so I'd say that choice E would be sometimes with you messed up with your marketing. So, you know, one of the things that the great courses talked about was the Volvo story and how they've branded themselves just the safety. I mean, when you think about Volvo.
Yeah, born boxy, safe cars.
Safety, very safe cars. And so I think that makes sense as, you know, Jim Adler and the Hammer, Volvo safety. So what do you want your brand to be known for? But notice how very simple each of those words were. Volvo safety. Mm-hmm. It's not some very long convoluted thing.
Like our Hey Diana was.
But we tried.
We did shorten that big time.
We did. We do try, guys. But just making sure that the simple does work better.
So I think the premise here is if you don't define your position, the market is going to do it for you. So be very intentional about how you want to be perceived. Side story. I once had a Volvo and it was boring. So I went and added a front spoiler and a rear spoiler to kind of soup it up a little bit.
Okay.
And one of my paralegals took it one time to go to Office Depot to pick up some supplies way back in the day. And she bottomed out the front of the car and ripped the front spoiler off of it. And called crying. She's afraid I was going to fire her. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to fire you. Then I couldn't deduct it out of your paycheck.
I would ask if...
Just kidding. I didn't make her do that, but...
I would ask if that was before you had the prefrontal cortex, but
it was still developing.
It was still developing.
It's still developing.
Okay. All righty. Yeah. Clearly that decision makes sense there.
Yes, I know.
With the spoilers.
All right, where are we going with this?
Well, I think that you're going to run us out because I'm talking about what the value, actually how you do define value. We've talked about what it's not, but...
Okay, so what it's not. So what value is, it's what the client thinks they're getting. Again, it's about client perception. What does the client think they're getting out of all of this? You know, so value isn't what you deliver, it's what the client believes it's worth. And I think this is a problem that we have a lot of times is we think we do a bang-up job, you know, and we're all proud of ourselves, and all of a sudden the client is not happy with us, or the client leaves us a mediocre review, or just doesn't want to review us at all, which is probably more likely what's going to happen. And it's because what they perceived versus what we thought we gave them doesn't match up. And remember, clients, they have nothing to judge us by. They have they've never, most of the time, we've never dealt with a lawyer before. So, you know, they're valuing us against, you know, the Domino's pizza tracker, you know, or or against Amazon, who, you know, ships stuff and gets it to you the next day. And we're taking months and years to resolve their case, and it takes us a week to return their phone call. We think we're doing a great job by industry standards, but we're not being evaluated against other attorneys. We're being evaluated against other industries. And, you know, we generally are going to lose that war.
Yeah, and I think that law firms have done a good job, particularly PI attorneys have done a great job
Did
with
I stump
this.
you there?
Well, yes, sir. I think you're right. We've talked a lot about this on the on other podcasts about how unfortunately you're not competing against the law firm down the street. You're competing against Amazon and the, out for delivery, you're 10 stops away and those types and that type of immediate communication and that immediate gratification. But when we talk about value, Mark, I do think that some of the things that the PI firms have been doing so well, and even estate planning firms with the welcome kits and the closing kits, that type of value of just, hey, that white glove service.
A menu when you come into the office of which software would you like, or coffee or tea.
And that really it's really all, like you said,
The white glove service.
That's all they have to judge you on right now. And it's creating this idea of importance.
Okay. So one of the principles here is that value equals the customer's perceived benefit versus the customer's perceived cost. So it's, again, benefit versus cost, but only from their perception, not from your perception. That's how value is determined. So, but it's not just about money. It's about the risk involved. It's about the time involved. It's about the stress that they have to go through. It's about trust. I think one of the best selling points, one of the best value propositions that lawyers can offer, especially in our world, is the stress and the time of it. It's not so much that we're going to win your case and get you your benefits, which is important, but it's also that we're going to save you time. We're going to relieve you of the stress and the worry. We're the easy button. We're going to make it easy for you. I think that's a huge selling point that lawyers frequently overlook when trying to market to clients, because I think that's a lot of what they're looking for. They're just looking to have a weight lifted off their shoulders.
And I think that goes back to your opening point, Mark, about how marketing is really just about psychology and value, because, we think value, I think the first thing we think about is monetary value, but there is that psychological safety perspective of, well, now the insurance company isn't going to be calling me. They're going to be calling you. I'm going to get this denial handled, and you're going to read it, process it, understand it, and tell me what I'm going to do. I don't have to figure out all this on my own.
So I think one of the key things that I wrote down here, if the perceived value is low, in other words, the perception of the client of the value that you're providing is low, no amount of marketing spend is going to fix that. So always work forwards. What is my perceived value? Okay. So I think some of the key takeaways, marketing is not necessarily about just ads and SEO and social media. Marketing is real about understanding your client, choosing your audience. In other words, where you're going to play. Can't play everywhere, so pick where you're going to play. Defining your proposition or your position statement. What are you want to be known for? And then the main thing is you've got to deliver perceived value. You got to give them value, but it also has to be value that they see and understand. So thinking through your process and every touch point that goes along the way. That what was that book that we read about the restaurant and how all of the little special touches that they put in to really up their game and make the value of what they did? Come on.
Something hospitality.
It's
Uncommon hospitality.
The TV show The Bear was based off of
it.
Mm-hmm. We podcasted over this, and you can't remember the name of it?
We did. It's
what was that
something
called?
hospitality. I've forgotten it, but yeah.
Something hospitality.
I will look it up on the break.
You will look it up on the break, and when we come back from this break, we're going to give you 5 action steps going forward. Plus, we're going to look up the name of the damn book.
I'm probably wrong.
Now, Google it.
This is Marc Whitehead, lawyer, entrepreneur, and business coach. Thanks for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast. If we've stirred your juices, hit me up with an email at marc@marcwhitehead.com. Remember, Marc is spelled with a C. And get on the Successful Barrister newsletter mailing list. Even better, let's set up a call. I'd love to talk to you about working together, talk shop, or just shooting the breeze.
All right, Diana, what was the name of the damn book?
Unreasonable hospitality.
Okay, and the premise behind the book was?
That if you can create moments of unreasonable hospitality in your service, it's a competitive advantage and it's a differentiator in the market.
Okay, and how might we apply that to lawyers?
There's a whole podcast on it. Go listen to the podcast.
I'm just trying to pick your brain. Give me some examples.
Well, I mean, obviously, the easiest ones are the ones we talked about earlier. Obviously, the welcome kit, because that helps with creating that value right away. Here's what we're going to do. I know what I'm doing, because they are still in that unknown area. And so I think that's one of those key things that we could do.
Promptness, politeness, clear direction, clear alleviation of their stresses from the get-go. That's the very first thing that you want to do. And that, what I call creating that initial wow moment. Wow, I just made the right decision. That is what I would say would be the key part of that. And then you got to follow up. You got to deliver all the way through to the end. So,
Yep.
Okay. All right. So our 5 action steps going forward. I'll take number 1. The first one was, I said, define your target market, or the way they've defined it in the great courses, your segment. In other words, who are you going to go fishing for? What area do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on car wrecks? Do you want to focus on brain injury? Do you want to focus on disability? If you're doing disability, what type of disability? You want SSD? You want VA? What do you want to do? What do you want to focus on? If you're on estate planning, do you want to do high-end estate planning work with tax ramifications? Do you want to go towards the middle market with maybe more Medicaid planning, elder law ramifications? Where exactly do you want to focus your efforts? What market do you want to serve?
And then once you've identified them, figure out how that segment makes decisions. So what are their pain points? Those things that you talked about. Are they looking for peace of mind? Or are they trying to figure out they need information, that educational-based marketing that you were talking about as well, Mark? And then what decisions are they going to make because of those pain points?
Yes. So the third one I would say is, when you say choose where you want to play, what message are you choosing to send to the people, to the market segment that you want to play in? I would say I would define that first by what's their problem, and then try to respond to their problem. That's how you create the message, is how am I going to make your life better? You have to start by defining what their problem is in the segment that you're trying to serve. That would be my number 3.
And so my number 4 would be, once you figure out the solution, make sure that your solutioning is simple. So this is where we talked about positioning, and we encourage you to keep it simple. I'd say pick your Volvo safety. What is your law firm want to be known for? Right.
Confusion causes inaction. So confusion is the enemy of everything that you want to accomplish. You want to be very clear. You want to be very concise. You want to be very short. So Texas Hammer. I'm going to hammer you.
It's an easy one.
It is an easy one. I wish we had the Texas Hammer.
It's a very valuable
brand. Maybe we can license it. I'm sure it won't be expensive.
I'll let you handle that negotiation.
Fine. Number 5, this is more rewrite or write for the first time one message to match each segment that you're going after. Okay, so what would, in our case, let's write one marketing message to our SSD clients. Let's write one marketing message to our LTD. Let's write one marketing message to your VA clients. And guess what? Claude can be very helpful if you need to ideate some of these things. I've bounced a lot of ideas off of Claude, and invariably Claude comes back with 200-word answers. But that's a good place to start. And then you just start whittling it down from there. I'm sure back in the day, the Texas Hammer,
Did not
have Claude. He chiseled it on his stone tablet, a 200-word, expose of what he wanted, and he finally stuck with the Texas Hammer. So you got to start big, work your way down. Anyway, so again, I want to go back and pitch one last time the great courses, the subscription-based model that I've pitched many times on this podcast. In this particular, the 5 business skills for success. I believe it's 36 total 30-minute lectures. So 30 minutes commute in the morning, 30-minute commute in the afternoon. You can knock out 10 lectures in a week, so you'll be done in what that math would be like 3.5 weeks. It's like having an MBA. It's like your own little MBA, and you didn't have to pay $100,000 for some damn MBA program to get it. So I'm going to commend that to our listeners. And I know you love that kind of shit. So
I do. I like continuing education.
So anyway, that would be my pick. And second, Irrational, whatever. What was the name of the book again?
Unreasonable Hospitality.
Unreasonable Hospitality. Yes.
I don't know what number that was. Though.
Okay. Unreasonable Hospitality. Anyway, go read that book. It's actually quite a good read. It's not difficult to read, and it gives us all sorts of lessons that I think you could apply to any business, but we could certainly learn how to do something like that in law.
Or just go listen to our podcast.
That too.
It was my outline, so it's a good one.
Okay. Well, all right, fine. We'll
go listen to our podcast.
Go listen to our podcast. Go find it. You go. Well, you'll love it. And with that, we got to get out of here. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast, where legal legends are made. I'm Mark.
And I'm Diana.
And together we're the dynamic duo of law. So if you've liked this episode, make sure you go and review it. Give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts are. And hit that forward button. Forward the podcast to somebody you think might enjoy it, and might need a little inspiration. And if you want to hit us up, visit us at successfulbarrister.com, where you can find more episodes and other resources. And if you want to just reach us directly, it's Marc at Marc Whitehead. Marc is spelled with a C. Diana with one N, not Diana, at marcwhitehead.com. Again, Marc with a C. So hit us up. We'd love to hear from you. And be sure to visit our sponsor, Marc Whitehead Associates, a national disability law firm, at www.disabilitydenials.com. And with that, go build a practice, not a prison. See ya.
Bye.